It's very possible that it could have been another black bear. I mean, in the bear world, big bears kill and eat little bears.
Although very rare, there are a few reports of cannibalism by bears in Yellowstone, dating back to the 1930s. Could the bear at Grizzly Overlook have been the victim of an attack by another black bear? Yellowstone is one of the largest national parks in the United States. It's a mountain fortress, a craggy wilderness, based around a huge dormant volcano 30 miles wide and 45 miles long. It's part of a larger area called the Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem, one of the last truly wild places left in the US. Every year, millions of tourists experience this spectacular scenery. Yet there are places here where humans rarely set foot. The forces remain powerful and primal. It was here that biologist Dr. David Mattson unearthed remains that shed new light on the behavior of bears in Yellowstone. Mattson was studying grizzly bears, investigating some unusual activity in a place called Hudu Creek.
Hudu Creek is a narrow, steep drainage that's very difficult to get around in.
A steep-sided forest, rapidly narrowing as it descended. It's a place that immediately made Mattson nervous.
It's the kind of place that just intrinsically leaves you feeling ill at ease because there's not much of an easy way to get out once you get in.
Mattson knew that Hudu Creek was rife with bear activity, and bears are David Mattson's business. As soon as he reached the bottom of the valley, he knew that something was wrong.
There was the stench of death, an incredibly distinctive kind of odor, almost a palpable, thick odor.
Mattson tracked the smell to its source. And that's when he saw it. Lying on the forest floor was a severed paw. It had been sheared off just above the wrist. From the size, Mattson could tell it came from a large bear. The short claws give it away as a black bear. But where was the rest of it? No other remains were visible. Mattson has spent most of his working life studying bears. In spite of the dangers, he pressed on. "1,000 feet away, deeper into the valley, he made another strange discovery.
There was a severed black bear's head.
The body was nowhere to be seen. The bear's head was perched on a pile of debris, surrounded by sticks and dirt, almost like a display.
One of the most macabre things I've ever seen.
The removal of the head and paws are the sort of thing a big game hunter might do. But what sort of hunter would leave the most obvious trophies and make off with the body? There's only one logical answer. A hunter that wanted to eat it.
it's very possible that it could have been another black bear. I mean, in the bear world, big bears kill and eat little bears.
Although very rare, there are a few reports of cannibalism by bears in Yellowstone, dating back to the 1930s. Could the bear at Grizzly Overlook have been the victim of an attack by another black bear? Black bears are very adaptable animals that prefer to live in and around the forests. They're formidable predators, capable of inflicting severe injury by one blow of their powerful paws or a bite from their well-armed jaws. They measure nearly 3 feet at the shoulder and 6 feet when standing. They weigh up to 500 pounds. The removal of the penis from the Grizzly Overlook bear is the big clue. When large males fight, they often attack this area of the body. Whether this is to prevent their opponents breeding or just to hit them where it hurts is unknown. Shannon Pedrusny is one of a team of ecologists tracking Yellowstone's collared bears. She's patrolled these 300,000 acres of wilderness for 10 years.
The study that we're doing is to look at the differences in habitat use between black and grizzly bears.
Until collaring work began, the team knew little of how the bears coexisted in Yellowstone.
We have members of both species radio collared, and I fly every week and upload the data.
The GPS data she uploads tells Pedrusny where the bears have been, at what time, and whether they've come into contact with other bears. But one routine flight led to something else entirely. The attacks at Hudu Creek and Grizzly Overlook occurred when black bears strayed out of their territory and into the path of a grizzly. They were just simple opportunism. This one would be very different. Somewhere in this vast expanse, one of the collared black bears had stopped moving.
Her collar was on mortality signal, and the uploaded data indicated that she had not moved in several days.
The only time a bear stays still for that long is during winter hibernation. But this was autumn, when bears are at their most active. Something was very wrong.
The activity sensor in the collar registered 0.
When a grizzly makes a kill, it eats as much as it can, consuming up to a quarter of its own body weight in one go. But a black bear is half the weight of a grizzly, twice as much as it can manage. So the grizzly has learned to hide the remainder somewhere safe. It scratches a shallow trench in the earth and covers the remains with sticks and dirt. This behavior is known as caching. Partly buried, the meat is kept free of flies and away from scavengers who might steal the bear's spoils. Until it regains its appetite, the bear guards the cache protectively, even dragging the carcass from one cache site to another and reburying it to make sure it stays safe.
When the bears cache a carcass like that, they'll go out 2 or 3 meters out and they'll dig the dirt and vegetation, pine needles in, and bring it all into a big pile.
That's exactly what happened to black bear 22048.
She had been cached twice by another bear and then drug off another 10 or 15 feet, and the carcass had been dispersed.
At Hudu Creek, Matson too discovered buried remains. But why hadn't caching occurred in the Grizzly Overlook case?
It was only a couple hundred meters from the road, and so when traffic came along in the morning, I believe that probably scared the grizzly bear off, and that's why it only scavenged 1/4 of the black bear.
Three black bears killed, all by grizzly bears. Researchers now had concrete evidence that grizzlies in Yellowstone were attacking black bears. And they knew what occurred once the kills had been made. But an important mystery remained. It was one thing for grizzlies to attack and kill when they happened upon a black bear. But the third kill at Dave Adams Hill occurred deep within black bear territory. What was the grizzly doing there? The scientists compared the cases once again. The corpse at Hudu Creek was found in the spring. The body at Grizzly Overlook during the height of summer. But the carcass at Dave Adams Hill was discovered with autumn looming, when bears are hastily trying to find as much fattening food as possible before 6 months starvation during hibernation.
Basically, the bear is faced with not only getting enough food to survive from day to day, it's got to get a lot of extra food to convert to fat to carry it for that 5 to 7 month period when it's not eating anything. And so in the fall, bears enter into a period that scientists call a hyperphagic period. Hyperphagic means excessive eating. And so the bear spends most of its active period in the fall searching for and consuming foods.
The most likely scenario is that the grizzly went into the forest to search for white bark pine cones, came across black bear 22048, killed her and ate her,